What's up, everyone? This is Conan from Exmortus, and you're watching Richard Metal Fan.
Hey,
Where I'm
what's up,
from.
guys? Episode 171 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Jadran, Conan, Gonzalez from Exmortus. How you doing today, man?
How you doing, man? Pretty good. Thank you for having me.
It's good to talk to you. So, kind of like the format is, I want to do like a quick rundown of the Exmortus discography, as well as I want to talk about the new album. But before we go into that, take you back to young Conan. So, kind of growing up, what were the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to be a vocalist and guitarist?
Interesting. I guess different answers because I never started to play to be a singer at all. I just wanted to play guitar, and that was I think my first like guitarists that I really looked up to at the time were like Randy Rhoads, Ace Frehley, Angus Young. They just got me into the rock and roll vibe. And then I went through another phase of just trying to be like a shredder, and that was later, like during my high school years, and I got into Ingve, Jason Becker, Marty Friedman, Paul Gilbert. You know what I mean? And yeah, that's pretty much my progression. I little by little got into more extreme music, and same goes for I guess vocally and just riff wise, because before, again, I only played like to play rock. And then my band members at the time, which one of them was my cousin Mario, who played used to play drums. He kind of pushed for a more extreme sound. So I slowly got started getting into more heavy metal, heavier stuff, extreme metal. And then when we lost our vocalist, I stepped up to try to do vocals. And for that, I guess I got into more like Dissection, Immortal, Behemoth. Even though I don't really sound like those guys, but I did look to them for inspiration to like try something like that with our music, because I felt like our riffs at sometimes we draw from their catalog a bit. So yeah, I would say those are the bands that I kind of that still inspire me today.
Awesome. And from what I saw in Metal Archives, I believe your first band was called Rattlehead. Tell me about that because I don't think nobody's ever talked about that.
Oh, that was not my first band. I was actually filling in. Exmortus was already in existence. Exmortus we started since like, damn, I think it was like 2002. That's like when we made the
Yeah.
name, and we were just a bunch of kids and whatever. But Rattlehead, I don't know. They probably started around the same time. I'm trying to remember, but I didn't join Rattlehead till like, say, I think 2006 or something like that. And again, I was just lead guitarist for the band, and I only lasted about a year or so. Um, I was, it was there was some conflicting shows here and there, and I mean, I already told the guys, Nick from Metalhead, that I couldn't do it anymore because there's just too many clashing dates, and I prefer to focus on my own project. But yeah, Rattlehead, they were cool. They were like a thrash band. I mean, yeah, I don't know if they're still going to be active at all, but um, yeah, the singer Nick, he moved to Argentina
Oh,
during
wow.
the pandemic. Yeah, I forget the reason why. I don't know if he got stuck there or whatever, blah blah. But he's still there, and he looks pretty successful. So that's great for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you get to know everybody from Ex Mortis? Because I know y'all formed 2002. It's hard to believe it. Last year was 20 years of Ex Mortis as a band. Like, did you think that Ex
Yeah.
Mortis would be around for 20 years now, going on 21?
In a way, yeah, because when we were kids, we started the band, I was 12 years old.
Damn.
And I don't know, just like yeah, I'm just like jamming. So to me, I didn't want to like make it big or anything. And I mean, I still don't. I'm just here going with it. But at that time, I'm just like, yeah, I'm just here to jam with my friends and stuff. So yeah, the band members, at the onset, were all classmates or friends of friends or blah blah in our high school or other high schools in nearby cities. And yeah, eventually we grew out of that because friends are friends, and they're not always the most reliable people to work with in a serious kind of thing, which we developed later. We didn't get serious till like, say, 2012, I think. So it took like 10 years for us to get like actually serious, with our what we want to do with this, try to make it an actual business, try to make a living off of it eventually.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. So at the first, we were just messing around mostly. I mean, we still kind of have the attitude where we're just like, trying to keep our youth by jamming a lot and having fun with each other, and yeah, developing a close friendship within the band. So even to this day, the bassist Cody, I've known him for a long time. I've known him since high school, and he didn't join the band till like I guess 7 years ago, I think. So it's been a while now, but yeah, you know what I mean. A lot of the band members that came in and out of Exmortus were mostly just friends that we grew up with, or friends of friends that grew up with.
All right.
So yeah, I feel like that kind of gives us a little tight bond.
All right. And so tell me, because I going in order, because I know the first thing I want to talk about is the Dawn of Apocalypse demo from 2003.
Wow.
Tell me about like that. I tried to look it up online. I couldn't find it. So tell me about like making that first demo.
Holy shit. Yeah, dude. I don't even have that. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. And there's a handful of like demos that we made back in the day. And yeah, like we just made them. We made a bunch of CDs, CDRs, burned them, and then like a lot of the time we just passed them out at backyard gigs during the time. We would just hit it hard during the summer, and when we're not in school, and like for like one summer for sure, every weekend we played 4 shows, 2 on Friday night and 2 on Saturday night. My dad was super supportive. He still is. But at the time he got us out there, he drove us everywhere for these shows. And yeah, so he really kickstarted, our I guess our drive in a way. And yeah, so that's how we did it. So those recordings, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
We hit up a lot of our friends. I think that one, Dawn of Apocalypse. I'm trying to remember who did that one. I forget where we went. We just got in a studio, like got together, jammed. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible. We were kids, and
I,
it was a fun effort. And even afterwards, I'm not too proud of how things came out with certain recordings at the time. But hey, if you could find them, good luck. I have
yeah.
no idea.
All I see is that has like the track listing is like Exorcist intros going into Stigmata, Black Locust, Dawn of
Right.
Apocalypse, Her Breath of Desire, and you all did like a cover of Raining Blood by Slayer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because I remember now, Stigmata, that the song itself in a way was recycled into a later song in Hatred's Flame.
Yeah,
It's
which we're
called
getting there.
Onslaught. So that is like pretty much the same track, just obviously different lyrics and added riffs and stuff, but it's essentially the same thing. That's interesting. Yeah, I forgot that we
Yeah.
we did use that later.
And then I know in you do Stigmata again in 2004 with the second demo, Onward to Battle. Tell me about like that. I was listening to that on the way there,
Right.
and it just sounds very raw sounding. Thing, where was that recorded at?
Yeah, Onward to Battle, that was recorded with a friend of ours, Mike Rendon, uh, over here in SoCal, and yeah, he recorded that, and I think he recorded another demo we did, which was not really like an official release. We didn't ever had artwork for that one. I think we call that one Reign of the War Gods. Um, but even then, those two demos was pretty much what we mostly used for NH's Flame eventually. A lot of the tracks from both of those made it to the our first album, which again that also started off as a demo that we
Yeah.
recorded with at Love Juice Labs in over here in SoCal as well, and I think more inland. I think it's like Riverside or so. I forget how far it was, Chino or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it led up to the first album, and then
Yeah, which we're
our
getting
first
there.
signing with Heavy Artillery. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I love that first EP, Reign of the War Gods. It's really cool.
Oh,
And
nice.
interesting note I saw is like re-recorded several times without the cover of Painkiller by Judas Priest.
Yeah, we just figured it'd be fun. I guess we started a little I don't know what to call it, a little trend with ourselves with the first recording we did Rain and Blood, just to cover, just to do that. And I mean, I think it's because we started off being a cover band. That's how we just started to get a feel of things. We were just jamming, and then eventually just little by little started writing our originals and stuff. So the idea of covering something is always like in our our roster, our live roster at times. You could probably pull some live shit out of our ass to this day just because of that. Because we've always just jammed our favorite songs. So yeah, covering Painkiller was pretty funny too. Uh, just because, yeah, just it's sick, and I don't know. I mean, listening back to it, I haven't listened to that take in forever, but yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know there's the two different versions of In Hatred Flames, but first one we'll talk about is like the
Yes.
EP version you did in 2007. Tell me about like making that.
Yeah, we recorded at Love Juice Labs there, over here in like in Chino area, something like that. I forget what part of inland it is. And yeah, a lot of other bands were recording there. I believe, I don't know if Warbringer did, but definitely Bonded by Blood did their EP2, Extinguish the Week, and also Hexen did some of the stuff there too. I'm not sure how many EPs or albums they did there, but yeah, so we heard of it because of them, and we went there to try it out, and yeah, it was a good experience. So that we did the demo there. I think it was about 7 songs, that version, and that's what got
Yeah,
us the deal with Heavy Artillery, and they just wanted to extend it to like at least 10 songs to
yeah,
make it a full album, and then yeah, so we went back same spot and recorded the extra songs, and yeah, that was it. That was a good time. That was a good experience over there for us because we were still new to everything. When we first recorded with like our friend Mike Randon and amongst others before that for our little demos and stuff. We didn't know what the hell we're doing. We're just slowly getting the hang of the recording vibe because we're just used to jamming live. And little by little, we started to learn like, well, let's separate tracks. Use a metronome, and we still didn't get the hang of that till way later. But yeah, so that experience at Love Juice Labs was cool. They kind of showed us some ideas and what we could do.
yeah,
And yeah, so after that, we released the album. Yeah.
yeah. And how did Heavy Artillery Records find Exmortus?
Good question. I forget who I think we played a show with someone that was in the band. I mean, sorry, in that roster too. I don't remember, but yeah, they're from New York, so yeah. So I forget exactly how they got wind of us and discovered us. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, and hard to believe, tomorrow will actually be the 15-year anniversary of that of the debut Exmortus album. What I wanted to ask is, what was the mind frame
Right.
going? I think I've already asked this, but with like more of the mind frame making the debut Exmortus album, and I know we have the new album coming out next month. Is there a chance maybe we can get a celebration of it somehow? Maybe throw in some deep cuts.
Oh, some deep cuts. Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we are going to be playing a show since we decided. I mean, to play a show with Violence and Bonded by Blood on November 18th over here in LA. They're celebrating their little things too. Their 35th anniversary of Eternal Nightmare and 15th anniversary year anniversary of Feed the Beast. Which came out the same time as In Hatred's Flame. So for that show, we're definitely going to be playing some tracks from In Hatred's Flame and whatnot. So that should be fun. So, but for the day of and whatever, probably can't do anything. I have to wait till then. But is that what you asked? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Did you
much
ask about In Hatred? Sorry, I could.
in
Okay,
Hatred's
cool.
Flame. Yeah, yeah, and I
All
still
right,
think
cool.
it's like a
Yeah.
great album. Like that title track is great. Like I love how you have like that mixture of like the neoclassical elements with the thrash elements. So just like everybody like bringing like their own kind of like influence into Exmortus.
Yeah, that's pretty much what Exmortus is. Like how we developed, because like I told you before, like I was very not into the extreme stuff at first. I got into just rock. I was into like hard rock as a kid, and I still am. Like just not too much, not too heavy. Like my favorite bands were like Ozzy, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, although they're considered heavy metal in retrospect. But they are not on the extreme side. I guess compared to nowadays or at the time when I started the band. But yeah, everyone would help write riffs and structures and lyrics. So because of that, little things started to form together, and whatever that was is Exmortus. So we have like a lot of thrashy riffs, death metal kind of breakdown sometimes, especially in that album. In Hatred Flame, I think the death metal influence is a little more present there, and also of course vocally. And of course the lead guitar attack that that I just started to get into Ingve at the time, so you could hear that there too, where I'm just noodling away
Yeah.
without much structure. But yeah, that's pretty much how it is at the time, and even to this day, we all contribute ideas. I am still like, I guess, the de facto songwriter and arranger, whatever. But still, everyone still contributes their whatever they feel would fit or help the process, and because of that, it still sounds like a mixture of styles and stuff. So I mean, yeah, I'm not sure what to even call ourselves, whatever category we fit in. It's kind of hard to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, like and of course when In Hatred's Flame came out, did you start like touring outside of California for the first time, or was it still just local?
Well, when it came out, was it still? Well, yeah, we at the time we didn't really have the most we've done was tour, not even a tour. We just do like one-offs, like as far as Arizona to the west. I mean, to the east, and then to the north, we would go to San Francisco. I think we've done like at the time, like furthest we went was Oregon, actually, before the album. And then yeah, so when the album came out, we my dad helped us out. He routed a tour for us and he drove us, and so that was again a very supportive dad. He's awesome. And he yeah, he drove us for a first run, and it was pretty good actually. We didn't actually go in debt because of that. We
Yeah.
played it right. We just hardly got hotels, and just ate cheap food all the time, and probably not very healthy, but we saved money, and yeah, it was a good run. And after that, we did a tour with Bonded by Blood and Witch Haven, and that one was a bigger tour, and it was just obviously more fun. My dad didn't go on that one, so that's probably why it was more fun, right? And it was a rowdy time, and we were all very young and hungry, so it was a good tour. Yeah.
Awesome. And then, of course, the next album is Beyond the Fall of Time, because usually with the debut album, you have like your entire life to write, and there was a lot of hype with the first album. When it came to making Beyond the Fall of Time, did you feel pressure to follow up In Hatred's Flame?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's a good question because when it came to writing, like say for the first album, we had a lot of the songs were already been jammed. They have been jammed for like years since our backyard assault days. So for this, we had to come up with new stuff that we haven't been really jamming, and it was different for us at the time because we were so used to that. So yeah, this was a big challenge because this is when I stepped up to sing again, to sing in the first place, which I was already getting the hang of a little bit, I guess. Before that, I was starting to sing other songs, new ideas. Before Balmore, the vocalist for the first album, before he left, and yeah, so I mean, I again remember I told you I didn't like the extreme death metal stuff too much, so I kind of tried a different vocal approach, and I still try different vocal approaches to this day. I tend to change my style every album, it seems, and it's not really on purpose. It's just that I'm like adapting to the music, and I'm just acting it out as I hear it and as I'm writing it. So I just go with it like that and see whatever works and if I like it or not. But for that time, that was especially challenging for me because I had never actually recorded vocals, or at the time we hadn't been jamming these new song ideas out. So I like some of the stuff on there, but I think that was a harsh time for us because we didn't know what to do with ourselves. Essentially, we didn't want to do a repeat of In Hatred's Flame, and we thought like, well, let's do something fresh. But I think we did it the wrong way at the time. Our band members didn't. There was too many. We were butting heads too much. We didn't have the same vision, and it shows. So yeah, that's why we're not too proud of that record. Even though there's a lot of fans that actually do like a lot of songs from there, which is interesting, which is cool. That makes me feel like it's not exactly worthless.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that's pretty much how it was for that time. I think we really found our sound, or our idea, our vision with Slave to the Sword. That's when we all collectively as a band with the new members really got along and like wrote well together and shared the ideas and shared the vision in a very constructive way. And I think that shows as well because that seems to be everyone's favorite. Not everyone's, but
Yeah,
most of our fans' favorite.
it's one of my
And it's a lot.
favorites.
Awesome, thank you. And it's also one of the first albums that people found that whatever they discovered us with. That's the album they first heard. And with that one, yeah, again, like we just felt more tight as a band, more tight as musicians in general. We started getting the hang of recording better at the time too. So Zach Oren recorded that. That was our first time working with him, and he again also helped us out even more with getting used to certain concepts of how to record and get the best take out of it. So yeah, and ever since then we've been working with him recording, and that was like 2011, I think, when we recorded "Slave to the Sword." So yeah, I've
Yeah.
known the guy for a while.
Yeah, and I know it came out in 2014. It's kind of hard to believe next year will be the 10-year anniversary of that album. So, is there a chance
Right.
we can get celebration of that album somehow?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. I mean, entertaining the idea of getting at least the previous members to play at least one song. That'd be fun. Mario, my cousin, he kind of like gave up on like doing this whole band thing, but I'm sure he'd be down to jam at least one song on the drums. I could probably hit up David Rivera at the time; he was the guitarist. See if he's down to do a song or something. That'd be a pretty cool treat for some of the fans that miss those guys, because I hear that a lot on the road with a lot of our old fans that have been around since then, and they asked like, oh, what happened to Mario? What happened to David? And so it'd be cool to kind of just bring them back for that that anniversary. That'd be pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like you also really found your sound on Slave to the Sword. Like everything, thing is just amazing. Like the vocally, musically, everything. Like going
Thank you.
into like the album opener, Rising. I think the guitar work is pretty much like you take it to like a whole new level, and everything about it, like songwriting wise, and it's just perfect.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I think at the time I matured a little bit from my like crazy nonsense noodling shredding that I did in a H Flame. I started to like fine tune it and like mold it in a much more sophisticated way. I think. Of course, there's a lot of noodling in that album as well, but using the whole Ingve idea, I try to make it more structured, maybe more so like a Paul Gilbert piece, maybe, or as a classical music, because I started to implement more classical ideas at that time. I started using sonata form as a kind of a template for some ideas that I would work with, because I felt that it fit nicely with that. And yeah, that's when I started to actually do that, and I still do for each album. There's going to be a song, at least one or two songs that uses this classical sonata form to express the ideas and how everything goes together. Um, but yeah, we all as a band definitely matured during that time in just songwriting, lyric writing, and recording in general. So that was a good experience for us.
Yeah, and I love the how on Slave to the Sword you did like a cover of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata Act 3. What made you decide to like make like your own kind of like or add like your own little spin to that?
I don't know. I think what's funny is that during that time I was listening to a bunch of Beethoven. I was like studying his pieces and just playing them just to kind of hear how he would structure his harmonic structures and all that stuff. And I think one of the guys, I don't know if it was David or Aldo on bass at the time, that suggested, what if we cover this? What if we do like a metal version of this? And I was like, holy shit, that sounds extremely challenging. Just start beginning our pages, that the main theme, I guess. So I was like, all right, let's try. So that was the hardest task I had ever taken at the time, and still to this day. I had to approach it a certain way. I had to figure out how I could get that done. And actually, at the time, there was someone else that did that. Dr. Viasi, he had a cover of it already, and he taps that theme, and it sounds cool, but I'm not so much of a tapper. I don't like I don't resort to that, as that's not my first idea to approach arpeggios. So I was like, I was trying that, and I'm like, I don't like it. So I decided just to pick everything through, like sweep pick it.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get that down. And yeah, so but because of that, I utilize that technique now for a lot of my solos and other like lead parts in Exmortus. So yeah, I'm glad that whoever it was, I don't know if it was David Aldo or even Mario that recommended that we do that. I'm glad and grateful that we did it. So it made me like really work on my chops. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and I remember somebody even described classical heavy metal as just classical music before electricity.
Pretty much, yeah. I would say. I mean, because I mean, the real reality is that heavy metal is actually from, I guess, blues. But
Yeah,
still, the thing is that there's so many heavy metal attitudes and expressions in the past before that. So yeah, I kind of I do hear and like to experience and emulate them again from songs or pieces from that time. Because yeah, because in every album since then we've covered a classical piece,
yeah,
and it just fits. I think it fits pretty well.
yeah. And then next album is Ride Forth, and that was pretty much the album that I discovered Exmortus on. So tell me about like the thought process making Ride Forth.
Right Forth was a for us a kind of, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but it was kind of a another Beyond the Fall of Time for us in a way. We had already found a sound and we had no problem doing that again. But the problem is that I guess I don't know. I personally was having trouble trying to work with the ideas because at the time I had a lot of riffs and stuff. I didn't know which ones to pick. I guess was an issue, and also at the time we had a band member that was we were just not really clicking, and I guess because he had other things on his plate. He was going to school and whatnot, so it was just kind of not all there, not 100%. Which is understandable. It's okay, but it kind of messed us up a bit. Not as as a whole thing, but like flow wise, the flow wasn't the same for us recording that one, and a lot of us had to record the bass parts because he didn't get them down. He was busy with the school stuff, so that kind of ticked us off a bit. But whatever, we got to get it done. That's what we did. We just got it done, and regardless of that, we still had a blast recording that one. I think this album, it was a slightly different approach than the than Slave, but again, it has that similar, I guess, sound that we're obviously had gone with for that one. So yeah, for Slave the Sword, we thought that was our last effort because me and my cousin we had been doing it since we were in high school and whatnot, our middle school even. So we decided to call that album "Slave to the Sword" because we felt like we were slaves to heavy metal and we're not getting anywhere here, So that album kind of took us off, and we're like, okay, cool. That was pretty successful. Regardless, we didn't think it was going to be that good, and so we're like, okay, so what do we do now? Well, we just have to carry on. So that's why my cousin Marty decided to call the album Ride Forth, and it's our fourth album. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
We're just a bunch of dorks.
And I remember first seeing Exmortus on that album cycle. The first time I ever saw Exmortus was that same year you opened up for Amon Amarth, and then I saw you also later that you played with Children of Bodom. So what was that
Yes.
those whole tours like? Because I
Oh,
think you guys
those are
kicked
really
so
good.
ass.
I think that for tour wise, it was really good for us because we had these. We jumped on the bigger tours and got to ride on buses for them. Except for I think Chiltern Bottom we didn't, but still, regardless, our first time showing a bus was around this time before the album came out, but we had recorded it already, and we had some singles coming out. We toured with Marty Friedman, even shared a bus with him. So that was our
Yeah.
like this era was around the time where we started like uh, experiencing more things that were cool for us at the time because we would just drive ourselves and I mean before that. So yeah, sharing a bus with other bands was really cool. Got a lot of rest, so that was good for us. um, so yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time, playing with awesome musicians, awesome people in general, and just getting out there more. It was a really good time for us touring wise.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still thought that was like some of the best performances I've seen yet from you guys. I've only seen you guys 3 times, and I'm kind of overdue for another Exmortus show.
Oh yeah, well yeah, we are planning for a tour very soon. September, October is likely to be the tour. still haven't finalized everything, but you can expect us. We're going to be touring all North America. So yeah, expect us soon.
Awesome. And then I know the next up is The Sound of Steel. I like that album. What was that like going from Right Forth to The Sound of Steel?
That was like it it was hard for me personally because two core members, or not, I mean, just in general, my cousin Mario left the band. So did David, and yeah, Mario was like he he was one of the biggest. I guess he had so many ideas, and he still does. He's creative as hell, and he was like a lot of the drive that we had, and he would take care of a lot of things. So that was a big blow for me to like step it up even more and carry on. So I kind of struggled at the onset, but I already had like a handful of songs I was already working on, so I was considering just breaking up Exmortus all entirely for that album. Before that album, I mean, but fortunately enough, after some encouragement from Cody and even Chase and Carlos Cruz, because they helped me out for that. They filled in for that album, and also for a tour that we did right before recording it. And yeah, so that was like, okay, well, cool. You guys are gonna help me out. Cool. Who do you want to stay in the band? Carlos decided not to, but Chase did, so that's why Chase is still in the band. But yeah, that process was a little different. That one's a little more just me, I guess, writing wise. So I don't like that very much. I prefer more input from everyone, because again, I like that amalgamation of just ideas put together. It feels more like a band. So to me, it's not my personal favorite record uh, entirely because of that. I think just coming from me, but I did have a blast recording that, and of course, working with Jason Cruz for the first time in a recording session. That was a treat, and yeah, again, we went with Zach Oren as always, and yeah, it just came up pretty good. We were able to achieve the songs that I had written last minute too, so that
Yeah.
was also a blast.
I still think it's a great album. Like songs
Thank you.
Feast of Flesh, to the ends of the earth, Riders of Doom, like everything just flows really cohesively.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that title track, or not title track, but the name of the title, the album, "Sound of Steel." I think that was also Mario's idea. Yeah, Mario came up with a lot of ideas. He named the albums pretty much,
Yeah.
and yeah, I decided to use it finally, and yeah, try to make the sound of steel, if you will. I think there's a lot of variety on that album compared to other efforts, but yeah, it still is somehow cohesive.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and then in 2019 you did the Legions of the Undead EP. Think it's a pretty good EP. I know you did some covers of Danny Elfman, Bernard Herrmann, and Modest Mussorgsky. Hey, tell me about like the idea of making that EP and those covers in particular.
Yeah, so after Sound of Steel, we recorded and released it. We did some tours, and again, Cruz didn't stick around for us. He was busy with his own stuff, and of course, Warbringer Chase was more willing. That's totally fine. So we needed a drummer, so we got Adrian to do it, and it's funny how that happened too. We told him we had an offer to tour Europe with Obituary, and we had 2 weeks to do it, but we had to decide that night, and I had no drummer, so I hit up Adrian because I had seen him do the Death to Tyrants, a playthrough of him doing it, and we're like, oh shit, he has a good feel, he nailed it, and we should try him out. So I hit him up, hey, can you tour Europe in 2 weeks? You have to learn, our 45-minute set, and you got to let us know by tonight. And he's like, fuck, okay. So he called it work, see if he can get the time off. I was like I was waiting because I didn't want to try other people out. Really, he was, great pick for us. And yeah, sure enough, he was able to
The
do it.
chosen one.
He learned the songs quickly, and he saved our asses for that one for sure. Because I had told our manager, hey, just tell him, yeah, we'll do it, and I'll figure it out.
Oh shit.
So yeah. So yeah, I'm really grateful that it worked out, and yeah, he's obviously still in the band. So right after that, we decided, well, let's try to record a new album or something. But at the time, that was our last record with Prosthetic Records. So our manager said maybe we should just at least release an EP if you really needed to promote new music, so that could get the attention of a new record label, and so we did. So we did that one, and
Yeah.
we figured it'd be cool to kind of push another aspect of our sound, and that one's obviously a little darker in lyrics. The two originals, I mean, Legion of the Undead and Swallow Your Soul. I decided, oh, why not just do our horror inspiration when we first started as a band, right? Exmortus, the Necronomicon Exmortus from the Evil Dead. So that song is very Evil Dead inspired, obviously with the title, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was a lot of fun. It was quick and easy to just do that. It's 5 tracks and 3 of them are covers. The hardest part was doing Night on Bald Mountain. There's so many parts in that. I just looked at the score and I just, transcribed it for guitars and bass. So essentially there's 3 guitars left and right. So there's a total of 6 guitars that are doing something different for the most part. And then of course the
Shit.
bass. And we did that. I started pre-production, producing that on my own, and then just told Adrian, do whatever you want, see what happens, because there's no drums written for that. So how he did it, I thought it came out really great. Same with the Psycho cover and Beetlejuice covers. So yeah, it came out really. It was really fun. It was a really fun project. I would love to do something like that again. Um, so yeah, had a blast, and some of that attitude, I guess, bled over for the new album because finally got signed to Nuclear Blast, and I forget if it was because of the EP or not. I forget, but whatever. We still had fun doing the EP. But that's a good transition to the new sound that we're doing here. It's not even a new sound, I would say. It's and again, pushing that aspect, the darker aspect of our music and themes. So it's less heroic, compared to say like Slave to the Sword, Ride Forth, Sign of Steel, where there's songs about like the glory of battle and achieving valor that way. Where this album is a little darker and kind of maybe feeling helpless because it kind of reflects the times of our during the pandemic and everything. So there's a lot of introspection in this album. There's a lot of I guess failed heroes, tragic figures being expressed here. So again, it's the similar settings that we have for this album, but it much more darker in tone. And I
Yeah.
think that we decided to do this. It came out naturally, but we decided to push for it too because a new label, we would like to push a fresh take, just for the debut and see how that goes, and you know what I mean. So we're very proud of it. We worked really well on this song. I think it's since for a long time, this is the most that we've actually everyone contributed a lot. And I really enjoyed that. It really helped me out. I feel like I could work better that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I had a blast writing this one and putting it together.
Yeah, and I know before that you did like I know you did like a little side project called the Fae. Fae, well, tell me about like that. And what was there? Did you wanted to try something
Yeah.
or try to express yourself differently than you have with Exmortus with the Fae?
Oh, well, with that, I'm just filling in on guitar. I guess I am part of the band. But I'm not. I haven't written any. I have written something for them, but I don't know if they're going to use it yet. But yeah, it's actually Jeff Potts' project. Jeff Potts used to be in Warbringer, and is in Mantic Ritual. So he decided to do this project because he is a rocker at heart. I guess even though he could play brutally fast thrash stuff, he's just like a rocker dude at heart. And so this project was more of his, more of a passion project, I guess. And he's been wanting to do it for a while. So he finally had found the guys to play, the parts, and it came out well. It was just three guys. And yeah, so he decided to do a tour for that, for like the release. And he hit me up to do a second guitar, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, let me check out the music. And I'm like, oh, this is fucking nice. That because like I told you before, I'm more of a rock kind of dude anyway. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm so down. Good tracks, good style, and just I don't know, just he also does a lot of classical things in his music. I think he derives more from other composers that I like, but that's like I'm more of a Beethoven guy, and on this Faye record, he did more like Mendelssohn stuff, which I also love. But again, it was interesting to play someone else's classically inspired music. and it just yeah had a blast doing that. That when it came out, and yeah, I mean, I would love to do more with those guys. I think they're almost done with their new record, so that'd be a good one to do
All
to
right.
tour with again.
Okay. And then tell me about the new Exmortus album, Necrophony. I mean, what was the whole like thought process going in or in the recording process about making that?
Well, yeah, again, we took a while. We took a lot of breaks. We're all pretty depressed, honestly, for this time during the pandemic. So we were like, oh, it'll blow over, and like, no, it's not. So we're like, well, what the fuck is the point? We got in our heads that way, negative mentality. So it took us a while to push ourselves out of that, and just get back on track and just find our purpose again. And so when we did that, we started to set dates for ourselves to like, let's get it done by this time so we could schedule those studio dates and whatnot. And yeah, so finally we did it. And it was pretty much like I said, the same, not too different of a process. Just that this time everyone contributed more ideas. I kind of made them do it because I'm like, I hate doing it by myself. I don't feel like you know what I mean. I don't feel complete without someone else's touch or even just advice. They're like, oh, maybe try this idea and this blah blah blah. Whatever, as minor as it could be like that. I always greatly appreciate that because it's just someone else's feedback. I haven't jammed these songs live before, so I need that feedback to kind of like help me mold it. So this time was fun because of that. Everyone contributed a lot more, and of course we recorded with Zach Oren. He's always awesome to work with. He knows what we go for. He knows how to get the best out of us, and it's just easy to communicate with him. We all like the same shit. We all like the same, we have a lot of the same favorite bands. So he hears me doing something and he's like, oh, do that again, for like a solo take when I'm trying to write one on the spot. He'll like help me with that and among other things. So yeah, the overall experience was awesome. Adrian killed it again on the drums because, I felt like the EP was not that big of a thing for him because it's just EP, right? Not a huge release. So I'm stoked that this is his first album on a bigger release, and he really shines on this record. I think he has a lot of cool fills, a lot of cool things that kind of make him showcased a lot more than the EP.
All right. And how would you say the recording of Necrophony was different than the previous albums? And what are some things that you wanted to pay more attention to this time?
I think for sure, um for like the prosthetic cycle, the I guess to call it the sword cycle. There are no acoustic or clean parts except for, of course, Moonlight, because that's just the beginning of the piece. But other than that, we could take that out, and it'll still be awesome. So, but this time around, I figured, well, what if we incorporate more, of that, aspect on this record? So we do have a lot of clean parts. No, I wouldn't say that it's like in all the tracks, but definitely on the interludes or intros. I'm not sure what to call them because they're very much a part of the song they're attached to. So, for example, the opening track goes into the first actual song. So the first two tracks are kind of considered one, but and that one I obviously use a lot of I guess softer sounds to begin the track and then eventually organically develop into something heavy, which goes into the song. And of course, that happens again at the end of the album and somewhere in the middle too. I forget. The Children of the Night is another song that has that. So there's like three tracks that have this. You know what I mean? Clean guitar going on, but I'm trying to like. Well, I don't know what I was trying to do with it, but I was trying to connect all my light motifs that I kind of borrowed from like I say like Wagner with his operas and stuff to repeat throughout the album in a way where they're transformed every time you hear it, and kind of I wanted to make everything connected in a way. So something about that I like to hear in classical music. Beethoven did that a lot too, and yeah, I decided to push for that more on this album, and yeah, that was pretty much the big difference writing wise. Um, so yeah, that was fun. Again, I don't feel it was like too alien for us. It's just something that we haven't really touched on in a long time, and yeah, so I think it's a good fresh take of our stuff this time around.
Yeah, and of course, this is the first a full length album with the new lineup with Adrian and Philip and Chase. Did they bring in something new to Exmortus that you didn't have previously?
Well, I guess since the sword cycle, I've been pushing for a lot of thrash riffing and stuff. Chase is also another rock guy. Like him, obviously, he plays a lot of thrash and heavy metal in general, but he's also more of a rock and roll 80s riffage kind of dude. So he contributed that. He kind of pushed a lot of that on me, and that was cool. Uh, some tracks kind of have that feel here and there, and Cody also wrote some ideas that were very death metal like, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, that's great. Again, I don't want to just do one thing the whole time, so I like the different backgrounds. So we have like some rock and roll shit and some death metal shit, you know, mixing with some thrash ideas, and that was good.
Yeah.
And also made them all. I made them all contribute with lyrics, so that was fun too. Get their mind of how they would structure ideas out, with a basic concept that we would think, oh, this song should be about this. How would you hear the chorus do? Would blah blah blah, and everyone contributed, and it was interesting to hear what they had in mind. And yeah, I'm glad that they did that because it's different from what I would have come up with, but I liked their idea better.
All right.
so so yeah, it was cool. Creatively, everyone's coming in, different angles, and I think it came out really good.
All right. All right. And kind of like going into the songwriting process, how much compromise is there within the songwriting process? So it's like how do you try to make it to that way it's like a pretty much a good democracy between all four of you?
Well, I mean, sometimes I guess there's some things. I mean, especially I do obsess a lot over like certain things, like, oh, it should be this way or something like that. And after like listening back to it, and one of the guys tells me, yeah, it's okay, I guess, or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, damn, it's not exactly how I imagined it, maybe, or whatever. So, I we tried something else. They suggest something else, and sometimes it works better. Maybe I don't think I've ever had a worse. I don't think it was for the worse in my case, because again, I like to hear other people's ideas, and once I see the new light shed on my already obsessive idea, I could kind of see where they're coming from, and that makes me feel a lot better about it. And so there wasn't too many compromises. I think the biggest ones would be like maybe I have a drum idea that like I anticipated, and Adrian did something else entirely different. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's a different kind of beat, but it's like, oh shit. Again, like it was good because like, okay, now I see where you're going with that. And that kind of actually inspired me to change some ideas in a way, because of the way the groove feels. Sometimes it doesn't go into the next groove, the same. So not too many compromises, but just little things like that everyone did something differently than I expected at first. And but I welcome that because it did make for a more fluid sound, I think.
Awesome. And going into like the lyrics, what lyrics? Because I know lyrically they talk about like sword and sorcery, fantasy, heroism, battles, and war. So is there like a lot of like research that goes
Mm-hmm.
into making the lyrics, and what is sort of like the thought process making the lyrics?
Well, I guess for lyrics, the inspiration is usually for me personally is obviously a lot of movies that are that deal with epic fantasy and all that stuff. Books, video games, in the same realm. A huge Tolkien nerd. I love rereading the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion like over and over again when I have the time. So I like to like touch up on things that I felt were like cool, and I would kind of express that in the songs. I mean, I don't like to directly quote that. I mean, for like copyright reasons, and also just because I would like to make it different and vague, at least just stick to the purpose of the point that was, I guess, trying to be made there. So for songs like Oathbreaker, Mind of Metal, what else in this album is Tolkien inspired? For sure, those two are very Tolkien inspired. Oathbreakers are the dead men of Dunharrow, the undead army, very much inspired and on their perspective, where at like they have a chance to redeem themselves, and I guess they do. And at the end, you kind of get that sense in the lyrics. But yeah, so I just wrote about that situation, and it's it's a very like haunting situation. I felt that's a good darker tone of the same realm, epic fantasy, but just that side and aspect for for this album, which fits more with the title, Necrophony, right? Symphony of the Dead, if you will. So that fits very well. Mind of Metal, another one that's inspired by that. Like it's supposed to be like it's reflective of Saruman and uh the way his mind works. The Mind of Metal, actually Treebeard says that in one of the movies. He's like, Saruman, he has a mind of metal. And Adrian, he really wanted to have a song named Mind of Metal because of that. And I was like, fuck, okay, I'll see what I could do. So I just for that song, I was like, okay, let's make it about how his mind works as a villain, trying to make a name for himself, competing with Sauron, and of course, trying to win the ring back for himself. But things like that, like it's darker aspects of of fantasy where we're singing more about like I guess villains or failed heroes in other tracks. There's another track I got from Bloodborne, Darkest of Nights. Bloodborne, a video game horror, gothic horror, but also turns Lovecraftian. That's also about the character named Ludwig, which is also named after Ludwig van Beethoven. But Ludwig, in his story, his backstory, how he became the way he is, he thought he was doing good, but in the end, he was really just not doing it for the right cause. He still had honor, but he was still cursed because of his actions. So
Yeah.
things like that are very different from the previous efforts, where it's more just heroic deeds. You're just doing it good good shit going on. You just got to be strong and brave. This time we're more like there's consequences even to that. So yeah, I think it was really cool and fun for us to push this aspect of the same kind of shit that we've been doing.
Yeah, and kind of like going into like your playing, like because I know you singing and playing guitar can be a bit tricky. So when it comes to like the making of the songs, do you ever try to like practice it, or while writing, try to figure out, okay, where does my vocals here during where I am at the fret, like do 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 do.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I still fuck up because I'm like, holy shit, that was way harder. Because I'll naturally like whatever the riff is, I hear the vocal melody, or not melody, actually. There's no melody, I guess, but the vocal rhythms over it, and I'll try to like fill in the blank spots of the riffage, so they don't clash too much. So naturally, I already have that going on in my head, and then I just fill in like phrasing of words, start stringing words together and ideas that way. And I'm like, okay, that works fine. And I start playing. I'm like, okay, it's cool. But then sometimes I probably forget a step, and then when I come down to, I'm like, that's actually really hard. Like Oathbreaker at first was really hard for me to do, just because the chorus is just constantly I guess eighth notes at that speed, and it's just super active. So I had to like separate them and practice them on their own, and then eventually just put them together just so it could be a muscle memory kind of thing. And yeah, so at times I still fuck myself over.
Yeah. All right, and I got two more things to talk to you about. The one thing is about like playing live,
Okay.
like because I've seen Exmortus 3 times. I know you played with like a bunch of different bands because I know you played with Amon Amarth and Children of Bodom, who are just kind of melodic death metal. But then I saw you play with Death Angel, which is just kind of just thrash. Do you ever like see like a difference in like the crowd depending on like who you're playing with?
Oh yeah, I mean, kind of, but for the most part, everyone seems to be, I don't want to say the same, but it seems like a lot of people, everywhere, like a lot of metalheads in general, like we all like different genres anyway. It's hard to find like a big crowd of just the purists and whatnot. So, and because the reason why I say that is because when we tour, we are kind of like a little bit of everything in a way. So we were able to fit in with like all the bands we toured with. So like the death metal bands, thrash bands, and even some black metal bands like with Abbott, we toured with them, and of course Children of Bodom. So there's like we fit with that crowd just fine too. So it seems like yeah, like for the most part, everything is very like homogenous, not 100% of course, but we had a great experiences because of that of our sound that we could adapt easily with a lot of these different styles of heavy metal.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, you could play with. I think you have like a sound that could appeal to like any genre of metal.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean that's funny because that wasn't the goal, but it just kind of happened. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty good for us. We could pretty much be on any bill almost.
All right. And the final question I wanted to ask you is I want to talk about like your gear. I'm always curious like what kind of guitars you play, like strings, pedals, amps, and all that good hoo-ha.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I play Jackson guitars. I have been playing Jackson forever. And yeah, I love my Japanese model, the professional Rhodes that I think is like a '90s issue, a '90s. I came out late '80s or early '90s, I forget. But that thing is, it just plays like butter. You can't beat that. But I also like a lot of the guitars that I've been getting recently too. So yeah, I use those for recording and live as well. I use the my JCM 2000. I got it modded recently by Jens Cruz, who's over here in SoCal as well, and he I don't know how he did it, but it sounds a lot better. It's just a little more driven, a little more gain, a lot more bite to it. I don't know what it is. I don't know how he does that shit, but it just really it cuts through a lot more. It's more powerful, and yeah, so I use that on Necrophony finally, and it sounds pretty damn good. I have a tube screamer to push for solos and stuff. Sometimes I'll just leave it on too, but that's pretty much all we use. I mean, I'm speaking for Chase. Chase he uses PV and ESPs. Cody uses I think purely Fender, yeah, Fender basses and a Fender bassman head, which he also used for recording. But yeah, pedal wise, we don't use too much. We have Shure wireless systems. I forget the name of it, GLX something like that, and it's a tuner and a wireless at the same time. So I love that. That's probably one of the best pedals I have. My second favorite, or tied for favorite, is a boost pedal that both Chase and I have. It's a tap tempo delay, but it's also with the boost. So like you turn it on, the delay goes on with the volume boost. So it's a great solo solo pedal for live situations, and yeah, that's awesome. And of course, we have a decimator in case we have too much feedback, to cut that out from all the high gain. But yeah, that's pretty much our setup. We don't have too much going on our pedal board.
Awesome. And so before we go, I just want to thank you for this conversation. It was just great to be able to talk with you. Is there just anything else with Necrophony that you would like to plug? And is there any also final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
just just stoked for everyone to check out the new stuff. August 25th is the release date. We're planning an event that the day of at I don't know if I could say it yet, but it's going to be in SoCal, and it'll be fun to sell some merch and some goodies for anyone that wants to make it out there. So stay tuned for any announcements for August 25th for the album release. We're stoked for everyone to hear our new kind of aspect that we've been pushing. So yeah, and we're going to be hitting the road at some point this this end of summer or fall. So expect us on the road.
Awesome. So everybody, Conan from Exmortus. We'll see you next time.